Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. There once lived a king and queen who ruled over a distant land. The queen was lovely and beautiful. Everybody in the kingdom adored the queen. The only sadness the queen had was that she did not bear any child. Once, when she was busy with her needlework, she gazed at the sight of the falling snow out of her ebony window. A bird flew straight and alarmed the queen. To this, she pricked her own finger with the needle. As she looked at the blood dripping on the white snow, she wished for a beautiful, fair daughter. She exclaimed a wish to have a daughter as white as the snow, lips as red as the blood, and her hair as black as ebony. After this, the queen had her wish granted, and she gave birth to Snow White. But luck was not in favour of the queen. As soon as she gave birth to Snow White, a beautiful princess, she died. Her hair was as black as ebony, her lips as red as a rose, and her skin as white as snow. She was named Snow White. She was very generous and gentle to everyone. After the queen's demise, the king then married a new queen. The new queen was beautiful, but with an evil heart. She was engaged with black magic, and she also owned a magic mirror. She would ask the mirror every day, "Mirror, mirror, who is the fairest?" The mirror would reply, "You, my queen." This satisfied the queen, as she knew the magic mirror would speak nothing but the truth. One morning she again asked the mirror, "Mirror, mirror, who is the fairest?" This time the mirror replied, "You are fair, my queen, but Snow White is fairer than you." To this, the evil queen was infuriated with rage. Out of acute jealousy, she devised a plan to kill Snow White so that she can be the fairest of all. She called her huntsmen and ordered them to kill Snow White in the forest. The huntsmen took Snow White to the forest, but the kind huntsman could not kill the innocent girl. He told Snow White the whole scenario and left. Snow White was all alone in the forest. She was scared and completely unaware of the way to find her way out of the woods. She started sobbing and running through the woods. It was getting dark and she finally stopped near a little house. She entered the house and found 7 tiny beds in a row with soft quilts. As she was very hungry, she ate a few vegetables there and drank milk from 7 cups and was fast asleep. Next, she was awakened at the sight of 7 dwarfs gazing intently at her. The dwarfs welcomed her. She introduced them as Snow White, and she acquainted them with the whole incident with the huntsman and how she found her way to the house of the 7 dwarfs. The dwarfs felt pity for her. They told her that she can stay in the house if she can help them with the household chores and make them suppers. Snow White happily accepted the condition, and they all started living merrily together. So now Snow White's life began with the 7 dwarfs. On the other side of the world, the cruel queen again asked her magic mirror, who was the fairest of all? This time, too, the mirror replied that Snow White is the fairest who is now living with the 7 dwarfs. She was fiercely puzzled on hearing this. She understood that she has been deceived by the huntsman. This time she decided to take the charge herself and kill Snow White. To this, the queen again flew into a rage and devised a more cunning plan. She dressed up as a beggar woman and went up to Snow White and forced her to eat one of her apples that she was pretending to sell. After much insisting, Snow White finally gave a bite at the red apple. As soon as she did so, she fell to the ground, dead. When the dwarfs returned from their work, they were shocked to see Snow White lying dead on the floor. They shook her, tried talking to her, and began crying. They kept her safe inside a transparent glass coffin and made sure that one of them was always there to protect the coffin. Once it so happened that a prince was passing by the forest and he saw the coffin. He had known and loved Snow White, and when he saw her in the coffin, he asked the dwarfs what exactly had happened to her. After listening about the brutal incident, he requested the dwarfs to hand him over the coffin. The dwarfs initially denied giving the coffin, but the prince convinced them to give it to him. The princes opened the coffin and kissed Snow White's hand. With the kiss of love, she woke up at once. prince's love for Snow White won over the wicked queen's hatred for her. People in and around the kingdom got to know about the queen's cruel act, and she was thus banished forever from the land. The prince married Snow White and they happily lived ever after. Thank you. Stay tuned and subscribe the channel for more interesting stories.